Out to sea, there's a vast emptiness. On land, nothing but road congestion. Traffic, especially goods traffic, is constantly increasing throughout Europe's road network. Forecasts are very clear. By 2020, freight transport will have increased by more than 70% in the European Union and by 95% in the 10 new member states. The result will not only be gridlock on the roads, but also damage to the environment, more accidents, and the danger that European business will become less competitive. And then there's the sea, which appears to be an increasingly credible alternative for transporting goods between member states. The European Union is aiming to develop what it calls motorways of the sea, all around Europe.
Les autoroutes de la mer sont des infrastructures flottantes qui permettent de transporter des marchandises d'un État membre à un autre État membre par la mer. Et cela offre beaucoup d'avantages par rapport à des itinéraires routiers qui sont souvent congestionnés, encombrés par des camions trop nombreux sur ces autoroutes terrestres. Et évidemment, l'Europe serait vraiment mal inspirée de ne pas utiliser ces voies maritimes. 40 000 kilomètres de côte, vraiment, ça mérite, je crois, attention.
In concrete terms, the idea is to establish high-quality maritime links between a limited number of selected ports located at strategic points on Europe's coastline. With the timescale to 2010, the network of motorways of the sea will be established along 4 major corridors. The first links the countries surrounding the Baltic Sea with the states of Central and Western Europe. The second runs along the Atlantic coastline, which will reduce traffic across the Pyrenees. The third in the Western Mediterranean will link Spain, France, Italy and Malta. And the fourth will make a link from Slovenia to Cyprus.
Les autoroutes de la mer ont 2 avantages. Le premier, c'est que ça ne coûte pas cher. Une autoroute de la mer avec 4 bateaux qui font des rotations toute la journée, ça coûte 400 millions d'euros. Un grand tunnel ferroviaire à travers les Pyrénées pour acheminer des camions sur des trains, ça coûte 6 milliards d'euros. Deuxième avantage, vous épargnez la congestion et les embouteillages à la frontière. Si je prends l'exemple d'une autoroute de la mer entre Nantes et Bilbao, vous mettez 100 camions sur chaque bateau, avec 4 rotations par jour, ça fait 200 000 camions de moins à la frontière franco-espagnole par an.
But the concept of motorways of the sea is not only limited to the sea itself. It's global, integrates the entire European transport network and builds upon Europe's terrestrial axes. In reality, everything is connected. A truck loaded with merchandise boards a boat operating on a motorway of the sea. On arrival in the other country, it can then proceed to its destination. The merchandise can also travel by rail and then by sea, to be finally loaded onto another train, barge or truck, which will deliver the cargo to the customer.
The predominant factor in the success of motorways of the sea, that is a harmless and a seamless integration of overland transport, yeah? Whether it be road only, rail only, or in a waterways only. And the best example is, of course, the combination of them all.
It's obvious that the success of motorways of the sea lies in the choice of ports and the quality of their connections to land transportation. The ideal port must have good links to roads, rail and waterways and must not be congested. It's what's called a multimodal hub. Accessibility is fundamental to allow a port to attain the necessary critical mass in terms of tonnage. This is vital if it's to be both profitable and competitive.
In order to be, let's say, a full and 100% alternative to road operations, frequency and regularity is an absolute necessity, yeah? But you can only reach that if you have sufficient volume, yeah? And the volume, the critical mass, determines the frequency you can actually have.
Regular, frequent connections. That means at least 2 round trips per day between the ports. The transporters must also be able to count on rapid competitive links. This involves pulling out all the stops to reduce the time vessels and their cargoes spend in port. In future, a huge effort must be made to make transport more flexible. This requires a highly efficient service, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It also involves simplifying administration with the systematic use of a one-stop shop. And finally, it involves the establishment of a system to monitor maritime as well as land transportation. Galileo, the future European satellite radio navigation system, will enable transport to be monitored with great precision. It will permit operators, as well as authorities, to pinpoint the exact position of a cargo at any given moment, whether it's at sea or on land, and whatever the mode of transport. Historically speaking, Europe was built thanks to its ports and the trade they attract. Today it's reclaiming this ancient idea by means of the motorways of the sea. All these connections will establish or reinforce a multitude of links between Europe's regions. Seen from the land, the motorways of the sea are an undeniable asset for regional development.
Die Meeresautobahnen haben einen großen Mehrwert für den Güterverkehr und damit für die Regionen. Wir können entlegene Regionen, Inseln anschließen. Wir können aber auch natürliche Barrieren wie die Alpen und die Pyrenäen umgehen und so kürzere Transportwege organisieren. Das hilft den Regionen, sich zu entwickeln, und das ist der Hauptgedanke der Meeresautobahnen.
The motorways of the sea also aim to link islands and regions on the periphery of Europe with the centre, whatever the weather conditions. In the Baltic, for example, the motorways of the sea will allow ships to sail all year round, making ports accessible in winter with extended icebreaker services. Generally speaking, the ports will once again become centres of economic development with especially favourable advantages for economic and social cohesion between regions.
On a une chance à la fois de créer des emplois, de mieux équilibrer l'aménagement du territoire, éviter la métropolisation du territoire, rééquilibrer le développement économique du territoire, donc mieux répartir la population, mieux répartir ses richesses, et derrière mieux développer les arrière-pays et mieux équilibrer les réseaux de transport. Donc en ce sens, les ports et le développement des autoroutes de la mer font partie de la cohésion territoriale.
Today, work on the motorways of the sea has already begun. The first European funding has been made available. Guarantees will be given to all the major players, whether they're local authorities, port authorities, industries or operators. They all need to feel that the system will be permanent to enable it to work efficiently.
Il n'est pas possible de convaincre des opérateurs de mettre des marchandises ou des camions sur un bateau s'ils n'ont pas la garantie que ce service va durer sur le moyen terme. C'est la raison pour laquelle l'effort budgétaire de l'Union européenne sera de donner des aides au fonctionnement allant jusqu'à 4 ou 5 ans, ce qui est exceptionnel en termes d'aide au fonctionnement.
To convince transport operators, the Commission plans to introduce a label for the motorways of the sea, a quality label which will guarantee that levels of service meet certain criteria: frequency, speed, regularity, safety, quality of service. But above all, it's vital to ensure that everyone feels involved. If not, motorways of the sea will not be realized.
Et il faut que dans les esprits, on ait vraiment une conception de la chaîne logistique du transport depuis, disons, l'entreprise qui produit un bien jusqu'au consommateur. Et ça, c'est un peu une révolution des mentalités.
The motorways of the sea will have 2 major assets. They'll make industry more competitive and they'll improve the quality of people's lives by reducing pressure on the roads. In time, the motorways of the sea will not only serve member states. Europe is already planning to extend them to third countries.